Smart, Muna King of Fanja, Usari Maribo. What's a say, just a go up with? I remember. What's a say, just a go up with? I remember. What's a say, just a go up with? I remember. What's a say, just a go up with? I remember. What's a say, just a go up with? I remember. What's a say, just a go up with? I remember. What's a say, just a go up with? I remember. What's a say, just a go up with? I remember. That concept, Randago, Mumbano, Mukuba, Mate, Mechi, Away, Ita, Eno, Ancien Treva, Mumbano, Muruwa, Aquaticaba, and young Atem, Mumbano, Aquaticaba, Arremoni, Mumbano, Mumbatan, Aquaticaba, and Tigan Sawadi, Mumbano, Muruwa,
Come on,
pugu, utete baguma kame, kamba 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 pugu, utete baguma kame. Emorwe, tenenye ngame. Emorwe, akamonwe. Tenenye ngame. Akamonwe. Oh, se kujo se bawarapo. Tenenye ngame. Oh, se kujo se bawarapo. Akamonwe. Oh, se kujo se bawarapo. Tenenye ngame. Oh, se kujo se bawarapo. Akamonwe. Tenenye ngame. Dua kame monyo, nareme. Dua kame monyo, tenenye ngame. Dua kame monyo, nareme. Seseku, away. Wongano. Tenenye ngame. Oh, nareme. Tenenye ngame. Akamonyo.
Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in tonight to be part of News Talk Radio. This I will coming to you as usual from the great state of Texas, Houston, Texas, precisely tonight. I come to you with a very exciting originating from the particular Cameroon in no other subject than your upcoming elections. It is beginning to look like Issa Tchiroma may be banned from participating in that election. That will be the subject of my talking point for tonight. But once more, thank you for joining me. If you are joining by way of the social media, that is Facebook or YouTube, go ahead, hit that share button and let everybody out there know that I'm talking. It's not just live. It is live. You can actually see me here, right? I guess so. But again tonight, please thank you for joining me from all over Africa by way of satellite television, all of sub-Saharan Africa. But more precisely to where I call the Southern Cameroon. And that's all. Thank you for tuning in. And tonight we're going to be looking at the developments emerging from Cameroon from their presidential elections. We're going to be talking exclusively about Issa Tchiroma's campaign and what is happening within the political circles in Yaoundé, which is trying to delay that campaign. Either ban him or rig the elections and make sure that he is stopped. All because of one confession he made over the weekend in Bamenda. So ladies and gentlemen, please go ahead again if you are watching by way of social media, go ahead, hit your share button. And I'd like you to know I got a very special guest I will be bringing to you tonight. Please go ahead, hit your share button, and I will be right back.
ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. There wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricativ@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising.
All right, thanks once more, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in tonight. I am very, very excited with the show that I bring to you tonight. I will start tonight with the developments from Yaoundé. This morning, waking up, I received a communication originating from Cameroon's unregistered agent in the United States, famous Emmanuel Salah, articulating the right of a petition in which he is asking the Constitutional Council of la République du Cameroon and the election monitoring body election to ban the candidacy and the campaign of Issa Tchiroma from participating in the Sunday's election. That is the news that is trending in Cameroon today, and I would like to bring you my talking point on that subject. And after that, I will bring you my guest for tonight. Then we'll open the phone lines as we will take your calls, your questions, and your comments. Please stay with you, not go away. When I come back, I bring you my monologue straight away. Ladies and gentlemen, again at this moment I will bring you my monologue for today, which is titled Issa Tchiroma. Issa Tchiroma, Confession as a two-edged sword. The political scene in Cameroon was thrown into unexpected turmoil last weekend when presidential candidate Issa Tchiroma ladies and gentlemen, it appears like there's a technical issue here. You hold on in there. We're going to take care of it right now. all right. Very sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes these technical issues happen, but let me take you right into the monologue for today. The political scene in Cameroon was thrown into unexpected turmoil last weekend when presidential candidate Issa Tchiroma made a series of confessions in Bamenda. What he said was not the ordinary rhetoric of a campaign trail. His words were piercing, loaded with consequences, and have since turned into a two-edged sword. On the one hand, winning him sympathy and applause from Ambazonians, Southern Cameroonians, but on the other hand, potentially burying his presidential ambitions. Issa Tchiroma's message in Bamenda was deliberate. It was not the careless remark of a candidate caught off guard. He arrived with what he clearly believed was a winning card, an admission that he had engaged in conversations with Ambazonian leaders, including particularly yours truly, long demonized by the Yaoundé regime. Issa Tchiroma acknowledged the suffering of Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians. He confessed and begged for forgiveness, for realities he could no longer deny, and in so doing positioned himself as a candidate who could speak the truth that many in Cameroon's political establishment have chosen to ignore. For Southern Cameroonians and Ambazonians, long silence and sideline, Tchiroma's confession was electrifying. Crowds applauded. His rallies gained new energy and new momentum. For once, a candidate in La République du Cameroon's presidential race was willing to put the Southern Cameroon Ambazonian question openly on the table. Yet, the very words that won him applause in Bamenda may have set in motion the end of his candidacy in Yaoundé's presidential election. Signs are already emerging from the capital that the regime is preparing to disqualify Issa Tchiroma before Sunday's vote. The most striking development came with the intervention of Emmanuel Insalai, and yes, the famous Emmanuel Insalai, a government agent with a long record of defending the regime's crimes. Insalai has petitioned both ELECAM, the electoral management body, and the Constitutional Council, calling for Tchiroma to be barred from the election. His argument, Insalai's argument, is blunt. By openly confessing to speaking with Ambazonian leaders, whom the regime continues to classify as secessionists and terrorists, Tchiroma disqualified himself, Insalai wrote. This move should not be dismissed as the work of an overzealous, hungry lawyer. Insalai is not a fringe figure within Cameroon politics and power. He has consistently been used by the government as an agent to undermine the Southern Cameroon struggle. His interventions in court and in the media have frequently provided a legal justification for repression, while casting Southern Cameroonian Ambazonian activists as criminals rather than freedom fighters. In Cameroon, when someone of his profile puts forward such a petition, it often signals that higher instructions are at play. It is plausible that Insala is acting under the directives of senior regime figures such as Ferdinand Ngongo, the powerful Secretary General at the presidency, or Paul Atanganji, the Minister of Territorial Administration. Both men are known to design strategies for tightening the regime's grip on politics and silencing dissent. If Emmanuel Nsala's petition reflects their thinking, Tchiroma's campaign may not survive till Sunday. The irony is stark. From the outset of the campaign, Issa Tchiroma was not considered a threat, not at all. He was dismissed, sometimes mocked, and rarely taken seriously as a contender. The regime viewed his candidacy as harmless, one of the many decorative opponents who give the illusion of pluralism in Cameroonian elections. But his crowds and rhetoric shifted that perception overnight. The crowds that welcomed him, the new legitimacy his words conferred, and the symbolism of invoking Ambazonia on the campaign stage have transformed him into a candidate who can no longer be ignored, not in La République du Cameroun, not in Yaoundé. For the Bia's regime, this is dangerous. And when the regime perceives danger, it acts in two predictable ways: disqualification or rigging. In Tchiroma's case, both are now possible. The core of the regime's fear is not just about Tchiroma's vote count. It is about legitimacy. By admitting to conversation with Ambazonian leaders, Tchiroma punctured the narrative Yaoundé has carefully maintained for years, that Ambazonia is nothing, zero, than a criminal conspiracy, devoid of political legitimacy. His confession that he was told to say the things he said then, ladies and gentlemen, implicitly recognized Ambazonian leadership as actors in the conflict. That recognition, however faint, directly undermines years of Cameroon government's propaganda he once led. This explains the urgency behind Emmanuel Nsala's petition. The authorities cannot allow a presidential candidate to remain on the ballot while openly admitting ties to the movement they have branded as terrorists. Doing so would expose the contradictions of their own narrative in treating the controlled facade of Cameroon's political process. There is therefore a strong likelihood that Issa Tchiroma will either be disqualified before Sunday or that his results will be heavily manipulated to neutralize any impact. In both scenarios, Yaoundé's actions would confirm, ladies and gentlemen, the fears of many observers that Cameroon's presidential elections are less a democratic contest than a carefully staged coronation designed to preserve the status quo. At the same time, the controversy highlights a deeper irony. In seeking to silence Issa Tchiroma, the regime has drawn even greater attention to his words. His Bamenda confessions are now being discussed, not just in opposition circles, but across the country, but also beyond. By moving against him, the government exposes its fear of truth and its unwillingness to tolerate even minimal recognition of Ambazonia in the national discourse. Whether or not Tchiroma survives as a candidate, his case demonstrates one fact with clarity. The southern Cameroon's Ambazonia has forced itself into the very center of Cameroon's presidential politics. The issue can no longer be ignored or erased. A subject that Yaoundé has tried for 9 years, 9 solid years, to suppress, has now taken center stage in the most sensitive political event of the year. As Sunday approaches, the world will be watching closely. If Tchiroma is removed from the ballot, it will be a stark indication that the regime remains unwilling to confront dissent through democratic means. If he remains but is crushed through fraud, it will reinforce what many have long suspected about Cameroon's electoral machinery. Either way, the controversy surrounding his confessions reveals the fragility of the political order and the enduring power of the Ambazonian question. In the end, Issa Tchiroma's confession has proven to be a two-edged sword. It gave him real love from the oppressed, but it may have armed Yaoundé with the very pretext needed to end his candidacy. And that is my monologue for you today, ladies and gentlemen. I will be right back, and when I come back, I will introduce my guest to you. Please stay put. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to join me in welcoming my guest for tonight, who is a true trailblazer, not just in Cameroon, not just in Africa, but on the global stage. She is none other than Rebecca Enonchong. Rebecca is the founder and CEO of AppTech, a leading enterprise software company, but her influence stretches far beyond business. She has become a powerhouse in driving technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship across Africa. She chairs active spaces in Cameroon and as trustee and chair emeritus of Afri Labs. She has been instrumental in supporting more than 1 million entrepreneurs across 53 African countries. She is also co-founder of both the Cameroon Angels Network and the African Business Angels Network, two platforms that have opened up funding opportunities for countless African startups. Her leadership doesn't stop there, though. Rebecca serves as a global executive board member of the International Chamber of Commerce and as vice chair of the WHO Foundation. She also lends her expertise to several other non-profit and corporate boards. Her impact has been recognized worldwide. She was named Business Insider Africa's Female Leader of the Year in 2022. consistently ranked by New African and Jeune Afrique among the most influential Africans and by Forbes Africa as one of the continent's 50 most powerful women. She is also a World Economic Forum Global Leader for Tomorrow. And not the least, to crown it all, in 2022, Rebecca was elected an international fellow of the United Kingdom's prestigious Royal Academy of Engineering, earning the distinguished FREG, I don't know whether I got that right, she will correct me, FREG title, FRENG. Tonight, we are honored to welcome this remarkable lady, visionary, and voice for Africa's tech, Rebecca Enonchon. Rebecca, it's a pleasure to have you. Please, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. You are out there in, I believe, somewhere either in Yaoundé or in Douala, and you are absolutely monitoring the political developments going on in Cameroon. And I know that back here in the United States, where you also have a residence, you have been very much concerned with the political situation in the country ever since the conflict between La République du Cameroun and the Southern Cameroons emerged in 2016. Looking at what is going on the ground now in Cameroon with their political election, do you see any hope?
Oh my goodness, I do. I moved back to Cameroon in 2004. And I was therefore here in 2008 when the riots started, the food riots started. And I since that day, since those riots of 2004, I have never seen the kind of energy that we're seeing now. It's very palpable. You can really sense a very different energy. The Cameroonians are fed up and they've had enough and they want change and they want it now. And they're not asking nicely. They will fight for this change. And as I said, I've never felt this. It's very different, and it's at every level of the society. From the street kids all the way to even some very big business people, officials. Of course, they're not going to say it openly, but everybody is fed up and is not ready to have another 7 years of freedom.
Do you think the momentum out there is, as you put it, is much more than what we observed in the 90s with the SDF and John Frundi?
I think it's similar. It's similar to the 90s. I was also involved back then. So I started my non-professional activities, I think, in 1988. I started demonstrations in front of the Cameroon embassy. Some people might remember with CAMSA USA. We were fighting for democracy and human rights in Cameroon. So I've seen a lot of this happen. And so even in 1992, the fervor was similar. However, it was a very different environment because we were, believe it or not, more free in 1992 than we are today. And so what happened after 1992 is those elections and the stolen victory led to the Biya regime being a lot more protective of its seat, and so much more repressive. And that because they've been so much more repressive, it's been very hard to get that sentiment back up again. But I think I've seen it. I've seen it, and as I said, it's something similar to what we saw in 2008, but that was immediately stopped. Beer coming in and killing all these children that were asking for better food. and water and very, very basic things that had come out in the streets to ask for these things. But that was repressed. I don't think that they can do that today. I don't think they can do that today because I think even it, as I said, it's all segments of society, and that includes the security forces. They're humans. They're Cameroonians, and they're also suffering in this environment. And so I think we're at a tipping point. I've never seen this type of energy in Cameroon, where as you noted, Tchiroma is the leading candidate today, and he's not popular. It's not because he's popular. People do not like Tchiroma. They hate him from what he did when he was minister, but
Minister,
they
yeah.
see him as an opportunity to take back control of their country. People have had enough, and I don't see any possibility of Cameroon ever being the same again. I don't know what's going to happen on election day. I think that when you have an animal that's damaged, that's scared, the reaction is sometimes, when they have their back against the wall, we don't know how this regime will react, and we expect the worst. But I can assure you that regardless of what happens, this country will never ever be the same again.
No, you talk about Issa Tchiroma, how unpopular that he was or has been. He is coming out of the regime. I mean, if you were looking for change, you will not go looking for that change in the belly of the same regime that has turned the country into what it is today. And yet, when you look at the lineup, the political lineup, there are these other candidates who have never been part of the government. What do people on the ground, who are there, what do they see in Issa Tchiroma?
A fighter, right? So what we really need, and I wrote a small piece about this a few days ago. We're going against gangsters, so it's a gangster against gangster. So what we're looking for is our own thug, right?
Yes.
And so all these other candidates, they have very nice resumes, CVs, profiles, programs. We're not looking for that right now. We need somebody to break down the door to this system, let us in, let us take back this country, and then leave. Right, so
Yes.
Tchiroma, very early on in the campaign, which is not that long ago, there's a platform called the Union for Change, and it's unionforchange.org.
Right.
It's a coalition of political parties, political associations that were looking to support a candidate. And they created their own platform, which was basically a transitional platform, saying that we want a candidate that'll be in for 3 to 5 years, agrees to that, agrees not to ask for a second term, agrees to free all political prisoners as one of the first actions to be taken, agrees to sit down with dialogue with all actors and stakeholders, and they shopped this around and to all the candidates. And the one that signed immediately was Issa Tchiroma. And there are other reasons as well why he made a good candidate. A lot of the votes comes from the north. If you look at the Great North, so the three regions in the north,
Right.
they represent 2.5 million of the votes of the registered voters.
How many
And
million?
in 2.5 million of the
Oh,
votes
you are talking
of the
about registered
voters,
votes. Registered
of the
voters.
votes
Yeah.
of the people that voted in 2018. 2.5 million were in those three regions, right?
Okay.
And Bia had 2 million out of those 2.5 million votes.
Okay.
And he won with 2.5 million votes. So you can just imagine how important that region is. And the fact that two of his allies who brought many of those votes Bilo Buba and Tchiroma have left that coalition, then that we all need to fight for those votes. That's
Yeah.
really, it's the North that will decide the outcome of this election. And I think there's something very telling that happened today. Biya, for his first campaign trip and his first outing since February. I mean, not the first outing, but the first time he spoke to the Cameroonian people since February.
Okay.
So they took the kids out of school. They took all the children out of school so that they would go welcome the president. As they were marching and going towards the place where they were to wait for the president, they were chanting Issa Tchiroma, Issa Tchiroma, Issa Tchiroma. These are children. And so, and if you go anywhere, if you talk to the motorcycle drivers, you talk to, I mean, anyone in the society, whether in rural areas or in the cities, they're all looking to vote for this man because they believe that it's through him that they can get control of their country back. So the idea is to bring the control back to the population. And they believe that they can achieve that goal through Issa Chiroma. So it's not so much that he has a special program, or it's just that he agreed to be a transitional candidate.
Yeah.
He agreed that he was coming on a mission and not to implement, all of these lofty policies. And I think that they're like, okay, this guy, he knows all their tricks. So he is an insider, but because he's an insider, he knows exactly what they are going to do, how they're going to do it. And I think that, okay, you're coming from the system, so you're going to be our gangster, right? So this is, you say it's gangster against gangster. You know all their methods. You're going to use those methods
He is a
on our behalf.
gangster. He is a gangster. That may be true. Sorry for interrupting you. However, you have better gangsters who control the machinery of the election. How do you think he is going to scale over that?
I don't think you understand the magnitude of what's happening here.
But
I've never seen it.
you remember we saw
The
those same,
population.
you remember
The
we saw
population
those
has
same
never.
crowds with Frundi,
Oh,
with Camto.
oh, yeah, but we saw them with Frundi.
Yeah.
We saw them with Camto in the cities. We didn't see those Camto crowds in the far north.
Okay.
So let's wait to see, and that's the key. Is the West, the littoral, some center has always been opposition stronghold, right? That's where
Okay.
we've gotten that. But that is not Chiroma's base. But Chiroma is getting most of the support from the opposition regions, as well as from his base in the north. And so that is an additional amount of votes that we would not have had in a normal election, here in Cameroon.
Interesting. Now, look at this scenario. I'm sure you read this statement written by Emmanuel in Salai that I mentioned in my monologue. And Emmanuel in Salai is essentially making the case for why Issa Tchiroma should be disqualified. You are on the ground. What are people saying about that?
Nothing, because Emmanuel Salah is a non-problem. He's a non-person. Like nobody pays attention to Emmanuel
How can
Salah
you just
here.
dismiss him like
And
that? He is
so,
very much. Don't you think that what he is
he
doing
talks a
is
lot. It's all PR. It's all PR. Really, it's just again to destabilize. They want to paint Chioma as a terrorist, as if he's financed terrorism. And they had Paul Tassong out, unfortunately, saying, basically a whole thing about he didn't call him when his house was burnt and things like that. Listen, we don't care. Do you understand? You could
Yeah.
tell Cameroonians today that Tchiroma killed somebody's grandmother. I don't think they would care. At this point, we don't care. It's like you don't care. We want change so badly that we will do everything we need to get that change. And if that includes fighting for Tchiroma, if they try, and I don't know that the regime would be so stupid as to do that. It will create it would be like this that we don't want violence. We really do not want violence. But if the regime tries to do that after they disqualified Kamto, they're asking for violence and they're asking for war. And I don't. I think that there are some people in this government that are intelligent enough to know that this is not. The Atanganjis and the hardcore
Yeah.
in the government have not served this government properly. They've made the Cameroonians despise this government even more, and we will not be intimidated by Atanganji or Emmanuel Salai or any of their threats because this is our election. It is not about Chiroma.
This is the
So you remove
problem.
Chiroma, yeah.
This is the problem. We have seen this with Chairman John Frondi in the 90s when everybody knew he won the election. It was rigged and taken away from him, rigged a second time, taken away from him, and they said, why are you not fighting for this thing? Frondi said, I don't want war, I don't want blood. Kamto won the election again. They said, why are you not fighting for this thing? Cameroonians in Europe were going amok and destroying things. I mean, going on a rampage in Europe, asking Kamto to fight. Kamto refused to fight. Now you have Tchiroma. It is
Now we have a
obvious
fighter.
this election will be rigged. And after it is rigged, a lot of people will go to Tchiroma and say, you know what? We would like you to be president of the Senate, president of the National Assembly. What if Tchiroma comes out and say like Frondi, like Kamto, I don't want war, I don't want blood in the country? Don't you see this coming up?
No, not in this election. I can assure you that it's not about. See, so Kamto is right. I mean, Chiroma is riding on public sentiment. I don't know if you remember this, but if you look at the beginning of the Anglophone crisis, which we don't like to call it that, but if you remember Agborbala and then when in January 2017, when the government wanted them to sign some memo. If
Yeah.
you remember, it wasn't really about the movement was never about its leaders. So the leaders were there for the people. And they were there to act on behalf of the people. They weren't acting on their own behalf. And that's the role that Tchiroma has right now, is that we have mandated him with a mission. He has a responsibility that he needs to carry out. So it's not about Kamto. It's about the people. And because the people have selected him, even though we haven't selected him in an election, the support for him is overwhelming. I don't know if you saw that CRTV on their WhatsApp channel ran a poll last night that started yesterday. And by today, Tchiroma was so far ahead. Bia was number 5. He was so far ahead that they deleted the poll. The support
You mean
is
CRT was able to run a poll that didn't show Paul Biya winning?
I know, right? And that's the thing about technology. That's the thing about
Interesting.
technology. You can't cheat in WhatsApp, right? So
Yes.
when they saw the results, they just deleted it because they realized that they could not control it. And he had 10 times, literally 10 times the amount of votes that Bia had. And he was and I just don't know. There's no question that he is currently the opposition leader, and that he has overwhelming public support because he's there to do something for us, not because. So you eliminate
I
him.
will wait on
who
when
is-
you say he is there to do something for us. I will
Yeah.
wait until I see
Oh
what
no,
he does.
he's we want him to do one thing and one thing only, and that's remove these people.
You want him to do
After
one
that,
thing. Let me ask you this question. What
one
do
thing.
you, behind him, pushing him, what do you want him to do for Ambazonia, the conflict?
I think the first thing is to release the prisoners. There's no reason why our brothers are currently in prison. There is no reason. That's the number one thing. And that has
Okay.
to be done on day one. The second thing is we need to sit down and talk because we are brothers and sisters. And we need to sit down and figure out what do we want in the future. I don't want to speak for that. I live in Douala. I don't live on a ground zero, right? And we
Yeah.
need the people that actually live and have to live through this to decide. It can't be us. Chris, you're in the U.S. I'm in Douala. But we need to help facilitate that dialogue and help guide the dialogue so that we can arrive at a solution that works, and that takes into account what the people on the ground really want. And I don't want to speak for them. I can't. But we need to put in place the mechanisms so that their voice can be heard. And then we implement those decisions. And I think that he has committed to that. He signed, like there's a contract signed where he has committed to doing this.
Oh, that's
He's
very
committed
interesting.
to,
I wish I can lay
oh
hands
yeah,
on the
he signed.
contract.
Oh, I'll send it to you.
That would be
I'll send it
awesome.
to you.
That would be awesome.
Oh no, no,
Now
no.
he
He
is talk.
signed the.
Go
Oh
ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, he signed.
Finish your point. Yeah.
He signed. It was a condition for the Union for Change that carried his candidacy as an opposition, as their candidate, coalition candidate. That was a condition, is for him to sign the contract. And then they made the announcement, he made an entire speech and committed to respecting that contract. Now, will he respect it? Maybe he won't try, but we will make him respect it because
How will he
once
make
we've
him when he
taken,
takes over? He has the army, he has the police, he has the gendarme, he has. How will you get him to do
do you
that?
know what happens? Do you know what happens when a people understand their power? Do you know what happens if, for the first time in the history of Cameroon, the elected leader, the new leader, is chosen by the people? We've never chosen a new leader in Cameroon. We've never.
My concern with any French uh, uh, African leaders is that the moment they take over power, their ears are to the French and not to the people. And you are talking about a memorandum
I
of
can I can
understanding.
I can tell you I can tell you one thing. Having spoken to several diplomats, especially European diplomats, that Tchiroma is not their candidate at all.
Okay.
And I think that there's a reason for that. And so I don't think, and I think we overestimate Europe, right? I think that we overestimate and underestimate the real ally of this regime, which is Israel, right? So if you noticed, Cameroon never votes against Israel in the United Nations. Um, they have supported. They provide security for the president. They are the ones that are training and in charge of beer. And so I think that we overestimate the influence of France and Europe and underestimate the influence of Israel. So, and I think that's where, the work, I think the diplomatic work needs to also happen. Because we're not going to have them support a electoral coup, right? So
Yeah.
if the results at the polls are strong enough, then and overwhelming enough, then it will be really, really hard. And so I think that what opposition parties are trying to do right now is getting as many people to the polls as possible. The last time the absentee the level of non-voters, registered voters that did not go to the polls was higher than Paul Biya's victory. And so today I had several people out from work, only because they want to go stand in line to get their electoral cards, and the Elecam is overwhelmed. We've never seen anything like this, and I can assure you that if they try something, it's not going to go down easy. Things will never be the same. This is really a tipping point and a turning point in the history of La République.
Now tell me, because Cameroon, where they do the rigging, is at the collation of the results. How is it going to be done? You know that Yaoundé take the results, sit on it for 1 week, do all the rigging, the fraud they have to do before they go out, get the Constitutional Council or Elecam to announce the results. How are you going to prevent, to fight this stage of rigging?
So we know that our adversary isn't only Paul Biya. We also know that our adversary is ILECAM, the Ministry of Territorial Administration, and the Constitutional Council. They've all been organized in order to have only one result. And so there are lots of different things that the opposition has been working, and it didn't start today. As soon as 2018 happened, they started to get organized, and so they registered a lot of voters, and did a lot of voter education. Even in rural areas, there's been a lot of on the ground work done primarily by the CRM, which is Camto's party, but also by other parties, and some organizations like Stand Up for Cameroon have been very, very instrumental in making sure that Cameroonians are educated about their rights, and their electoral rights, and really plugging, finding all the holes in the electoral system. And so there are also some technology solutions that have been identified, so that when people are at the polling station, the results, everybody that goes to vote is allowed to stay in the polling station until the votes are tallied. And so these applications that have been developed allow you to report directly from the polling station into the app, what the results were of the election. And we know that they'll probably shut down the internet so that those apps won't work in real time. But there are, they can work offline. And then when people are then able to connect to the internet, they can upload the results to a central database. Once they're uploaded, by the end of that night, and if there's no internet, again, there's SMS solutions and regular non-internet solutions. That very night, we will know what the results are. The people will know, and we will announce what we found as far as the results. Now, if they choose to go
Would
and
the polling
announce something
stations be
different,
allowed to announce their results that night independently before the totals are put on Yaoundé?
so the way it works is that when you go to vote, they have what they call scrutateur or something like that, right? So
Yeah.
out of the people that are there to vote, the people that actually count, that pull the ballot out and count and mark it, are actually just voters, right?
Okay.
They're not election officials, they're just voters. And so it's whoever is still there when they're counting the vote. So, and you are allowed by law to stay in the polling station that you voted in. And so we're telling people, don't leave, right? Don't leave, because you want to make sure that they're going to count all the votes. And then, yes, so they count the votes, and then they announce the results of the votes right there, before sending the results on to the regional, and then so on and so forth. And so it's really important. Photographic evidence, so much evidence. We need as much proof as we have, because the problem in 2018, and because of 2018, they've gotten smarter about it, right? So
Yes.
if you remember, Michel Doki, who was from the CRM party at the time, went in front of the Constitutional Council to fight the results, and she actually is behind one of these applications, and so she knows exactly what they need in order to bring to the courts. You need the evidence, and the last time they weren't smart enough to have kept proof, and so it was very difficult to fight that. But with that evidence, I think that it's much harder for them to lie. And we know that they will try, but if we have the evidence, it will be much harder for them to lie, and we will have much larger numbers, much larger turnout than we did in 2018. And so those are all mechanisms to try to make sure that each vote is protected.
What do you do with the problem of ghost voting stations? Because I have seen a list emerging from Libialum, that is my own county, of voter stations where those stations do not exist. They name places where elections are taking place, where those places do not exist. I have seen that
So
list, and I
yeah.
think many other places are like that.
Yeah, so I think that we will still have them. I mean, it's going to be very difficult, even with all the funding that we can get to support the opposition parties during this election, so that each and every polling station, and there are 30,000, representatives from opposition parties. That's the goal, is to get 30,000 and even have two per position. That's the goal. Now, you're always going to have some cheating. And what the effort is that's going on is that if you have an overwhelmingly, if the result is big enough and the difference is big enough, that fraud won't influence the result as much. So if you're saying that you have a polling station where they'll say 100% goes to Bia, but there are 100 people, and then you've had 3 million voting for Tchiroma. Those small cheating here and there, they will, we just want to have such an overwhelming turnout
Yeah.
that rigging will have less of an impact on the result. So there are multiple layers of mechanisms that are being used to protect each vote. If you have critical mass, they become less visible, less important in the overall result.
Now let's talk about Ambazonia a little bit. I'm sure you are well aware that we in Ambazonia have banned the elections altogether in our territory for reasons you know. I have heard the argument that, Chris, this is such an opportunity for Ambazonia, Southern Cameroonians to make a difference and get the change that they want. As you heard out there, I talked to Issa Tchiroma, I talked to everybody, and Issa Tchiroma is talking about a referendum. A referendum. I don't know what would be the questions at the referendum he is talking about, but what do you make of the fact that we are saying no elections in Ambazonia?
I think it's a mistake, to be honest, because they will have elections. And there will be a result. It just won't be a result that's representative of the people that are on the ground. And that's what I think that's the call, is saying, hey, guys, you're letting the presidential candidates go to those areas, and then, but the people can't vote. We're doing all of this for the people. There's nothing that's being done that's for anybody but for the people. And it's important, I think, to let the people be able to express themselves on that day. And what will happen is that the army and security forces will be the ones to vote, and not the population. And so I think you talked about dialogue. Part of it is letting our people express themselves, and I think that it would have a significant impact. And I think it would be a way also to say to this government that, listen, We here it is. Somebody is saying that they're willing to talk to us. They're willing to treat us as equals and to have conversations with us and respect the fact that we do have grievances, and that we are requiring that they be resolved. And so this is what we're able to do. So if the Cameroon government had come and said, "Hey, can we'd like to have elections? Can you open it up?" Without coming and apologizing, without coming and promising reforms and promising this referendum and promising that the so I think what I'm trying to say is that it will be a demonstration to the Cameroon government that, hey, we are not we have always been open for dialogue. You're the ones that have shut down the dialogue. Now we have an opportunity to have that. And in order to give that opportunity a chance, we were going to allow our people to vote in your election. And we want them to have the freedom to do that and feel confident that there won't be any issues on the ground. And I think that is send such a powerful message to saying that we are capable of discussing and negotiating and having dialogue. And we are ready to take measures when we think that it's going to happen. Here it is. And I think it will further embarrass the government. It will further embarrass the government that here is opposition that's able to get this concession, whereas they have never been able to.
But this is a problem. Here is a problem. The opposition you're talking about, they're not ready to sit down to talk to Amazonian leaders. Can you imagine?
Of course they are. I think they
They're
will.
not-
I
let me
think they
tell
have
you,
no.
I speak.
We cannot. We
I
can't
speak
have
with.
peace.
Let me tell you something.
if we don't
I
talk.
speak to Eric Chinje and Onga Onana with their group, and Eric Chinje said to me, "Chris, this is an opportunity for Ambazonians, Southern Cameroons, to get the change that they want. If they can just open up the terrain to work." And I said to Eric Chinje, "You want us to listen to you? This is what I would love you to do. Gather all those opposition leaders. You are talking to them. Let's have a meeting together with Ambazonian leaders." Eric said, "What a great suggestion." That never happened. Canto was campaigning. He came to the US, invited people to come and listen to him. When Ambazonians show up wearing their national colors, the blue-white colors, he told them, don't let them in. You will have separate meetings with them. That never happened. Currently, as they go on with the elections, we have said, let's sit down and talk. Let's listen to what you have to offer after your election. Without that, we cannot open the territory to you because we don't trust you, considering the history of the political leaders in this country. And if they are out there talking about referendum to placate Ambazonians, I don't think that is going to work. And you consider that for 64 years, Southern Cameroonians have been voting in that country, and there has been no change. Why do you think at this moment they should believe that Tchiroma or Libri or Osil or Bello will bring that change? Why do you think they should think so?
I remember when Gbagbo moved back from when he was released, and he went back to Cote d'Ivoire. And I remember one moment where there was a picture of him and Ouattara, and they were holding hands, and I was like, oh, these politicians, you can't even trust them. And a few days later, the prisoners that had been arrested, that were on Gbagbo's side, were released. And I said, okay, this is why he did that. It wasn't because he wanted to talk to Ouattara. It was because it was so important to him to give the opportunity for those who were in prison for following him an opportunity to get out of prison. And I think that if we value our brothers and their lives of those who are in prison, if we believe, and I do believe, that if there's a new government that comes in, that they will be immediately released. I think it's worth whatever sacrifice of it's worth it. Just that is worth it. And I can tell you that it will, that's so important, that they get out of prison. And then we can have real dialogue, because you can't have dialogue with people behind bars. And so I think that just because of our brothers, just for our brothers, and the chance and opportunity we might have for them to be released, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. I think sometimes in life, you need to sacrifice your own personal opinion, your own personal preferences for the good of others.
But there's a
And
problem
I
there,
think
though.
many
I
of
don't
us,
think those brothers you are referring to will tell you all they want is release from jail. They will tell you we
nobody
want.
says that all they want is, but you can't imagine. You can't imagine. It's the for me, it's one of the, it's a great injustice. And I think I would love for them to be able to participate in the dialogue, in the discussions, and they can't do that from behind bars. And so really, I'm pleading with you. I'm pleading with
I'm not
you
in
to
jail, you
give,
know that
to give.
I still have my
I
liberties.
know I'm not, you're not in jail, but I'm pleading with you, to give peace a chance. To give peace a chance. I know it's another chance. And I know these people, they've betrayed us so many times. All politicians have betrayed us. But I can assure you that give it a chance. Give peace a chance. This is an attempt. We may fail. We may, lose. But at least you know in your heart of hearts, and we all know that we did our very best to give peace a chance. It's
We
just a few
want
days.
to, we
Not
want to, we want the opportunity to sit down with anybody who is willing to talk about a solution to the conflict. However, it's like the door is still far ahead. We don't want to start bending from here. Why the door is still a mile away? We think that let whoever wins Cameroon elections win, and if the person is truly interested to resolving the conflict, he can call for a negotiation, a dialogue, not another grand national dialogue, but a dialogue that resolves on the sovereignty of the Southern Cameroons. At that table, we may think about whether giving peace a chance in your terminology, or saying, well, we have lost our people a lot. We stand on a free Ambazonia. Until then, I think it is premature to go and say, let's go out for some elections, because
it's
we
for
are
how many
hoping that,
days? It's
yes,
it's for how many days? It's for how many days? How many days?
few days to
The
come.
elections are on Sunday. Just a few days. Just give that a chance. I'm
It's too
begging
late.
you
It's
to
too
give it
late,
a
though.
chance. It's not too late. It's never too late. There's never a deadline for peace.
Rebecca, this
We
is not
can do
about
this, and we
peace.
can do this now.
Rebecca, this is not
Listen,
about
if you
peace.
want, if
This
you
is
want
about
another
Rebecca, this
seven
is not about
years
peace.
of,
It is about making things right. It is about justice. You agree, I have no doubt about that. As a Southern Cameroonian, as an Ambazonian, and you know you may not like that appellation, but that's who you
it's fine.
are.
You
I
might
know
not
for
know
sure.
this. You
Okay.
might not know this, but first of all, my father was the first president of the Cameroon Anglophone movement. So I grew up with this.
Yeah,
And
you know, Chong, yeah,
yes, and
yeah.
Fongorji Dinka, who termed who coined the phrase Ambazonia, the
Ambazonia,
name
yeah,
Ambazonia.
right.
He spent a year in my mom's apartment in the US. And the first Ambazonia flag, I have a picture of the first Amazonia flag. It was what, the early 90s or late 80s or something like that. And I have a picture, and I'll send you the picture. It's
Okay.
just to say that I know this history and I feel it. I've lived it. I grew up with this knowledge of this is what has happened to our people, and I'm very passionate about it. But I also I value human life. I value human life, and it burns me to the core to see people like my dear friend Dr. Fidelis, who has transformed so many lives around technology, not being able to continue to do his work. And I think that those people that are in prison have so much to contribute, not just to this cause, but to the world. And it hurts me to my core to see that we have an opportunity. It may not pan out, but for goodness sakes, if we have an opportunity to make this right and to get our people the freedom that they need, isn't it worth taking it? Isn't it worth
I
it?
agree with you.
What
There
do you
may be
have
an
to lose?
opportunity, but it doesn't
But what
seem
do you
like
have
we are
to
there
lose?
yet.
But what do you have to lose, Chris? Tell me.
We
You don't have
have to
anything to lose
let them conduct their
and
elections.
everything to gain.
Let them conduct their elections, and whoever wins, then we can talk about an opportunity for
But
peace.
you
Because
understand that people will vote in those areas, but not
yeah,
our people.
sure, absolutely,
You understand that?
yes.
Okay, so you
But the point
understand that
is, but the
that,
point
that
is,
vote,
but the point is,
that vote
but the point is,
could tilt the election in their favor.
Rebecca, the point
And
is,
how will you feel if you had an opportunity to affect and impact the outcome of this election in favor of freedom, in favor of peace, and that you chose not to take that opportunity? How will you feel if the difference in the votes is equal to the vote in Southern Cameroon? How will you feel?
Rebecca, you know the history of voting in Cameroon. Whether Ambazonians vote or they do
It's
not vote,
different.
Cameroon will
It's
claim
different.
99%. Maybe they may go down to 65% this time because of the pressure. They will always win. They have won for 64 years since we joined them.
But that's such a defeatist attitude. It's so
It's,
defeatist.
it's
And
reality. It's reality.
I'm an optimist. And as I said in the video in which I was endorsing Tchiroma, I said, I'd rather believe and be wrong than not believe and be right. I need us all to believe that we can change the outcome of this election. And I think if we all believe it and we all take our energy and our efforts, we can do it. We can achieve this. We are really at a tipping point, and I'm begging you to see the opportunity and look at this with optimism. I know I'm not going to convince you on this show, but I hope that you take my words and that you go back and you reflect on them and say, okay, take a risk. It is a risk. I understand. We could fail, but let's try. Let's try. And I can tell you, and I'm sure you talk to people on the ground. If they have an opportunity to vote, they will vote for change. They will vote for change.
We've always
And we
been
need
told we're voting for change. Remember from the days of Frundi, he was voting for change. Change never showed up.
come on,
Or the
come
only
on, come
person
on.
who
This is
changed was Frundi.
2025. We're in 2025. I'm
All right.
telling you, it's different.
All right. Please, Rebecca, just hang in there for about 15 more minutes. I'm going to open the phone lines and allow people, the listeners, to call in, ask any question they may have. But remember, before you call, make sure you shut down the volume of your television, because there will be a delay if you want to ask questions listening to me or my guests from your television. If you have to call, make sure you shut down the volume of your television and focus on your phone. before you call. You have the phone line right there on your screen. So please go ahead and call. Go ahead and call. The phone line is open. So, Rebecca, let me get back to you while we expect the phone calls to come in. Uh, you are such a powerful woman. Many people watching you, I don't think they know you a lot because you are not so much out there in the media, but Forbes magazine names you one of the 50th most powerful women in all of Africa. That is to show the weight that you carry. Uh, Give me 1 second. Let me get this caller before I will continue. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Comrade Chris.
Good afternoon, sir. May I know where you are calling from, please?
I'm calling from Chicago.
Okay, Chicago. All right. What is on your mind, sir?
Yeah, I want to just ask Madam Rebecca why she keeps saying that this election is an opportunity for Southern Cameroon to have a change. That's my question.
All right, Rebecca, over to you.
It's an opportunity because
Thank you for the call.
if we stay with the current government, the hardliners in that government will never allow any progress. It's almost as if they enjoy the current situation, and they will continue to perpetuate the current situation. And so, as I said, we don't know for sure that this will help, but I think that there's a good chance that it will help. At least we'll get our prisoners out, and we can start that dialogue. And I think, Chris, you said earlier that Tchiroma, you and he have discussions, and you may not agree. And what I've found is in this election, having spoken, we had a big debate. They call it a debate, but it was individuals, and we had these exchanges last Sunday night. And what I realized is that they still don't understand what caused this. I heard one of the candidates say very proudly that her children were Anglophones. So I think they're still confusing speaking English with the crisis. And so, what I've also understood over the years, because I was born in Yaoundé, I grew up in Douala, but I grew up surrounded by people whose first love was Southern Cameroons and had fought for the rights of our people. And because of that, I know the history. I know what happened. I know this is not the case of many Francophones. And so I think what we think they know, they don't know. And so that opportunity
Come
for
on,
dialogue.
I don't get the point. They don't know what we know. They don't see our suffering. They don't see our internally displaced. They don't see our refugees. They don't see our towns, our villages burned down.
But you know that they had villages burned down in the 60s. They had villages burnt down. So the same methods that are being used against Southern Cameroonians today are the same methods that in colonial times or in the war for independence, where 700,000 Cameroonians were killed fighting for independence. They're using the same methods, the same burning down villages. And so many Francophones feel that, well, they have issues too. Like there's poverty in their area. They don't understand the political history of Southern Cameroons. And because of that, they make a lot of assumptions. And I think one of the things this government has done, and they're so proud of all their efforts, is to translate the French system into English and think that that's what we wanted. Okay, so we've solved the problem. So now ENAM, which is the school for magistrates, now there's a common law section. But where in anywhere do we have a school for magistrates except for France? Where does it happen?
Yeah.
And so it's this, and
Why
I say
can't
that
our
I'm just giving
graduates
that
from
as an
Boya
example.
become magistrates? Write a bar exam
but
and become magistrates, right?
I'm just giving that as an example
Yeah.
of the complete lack of understanding between the political history. And so we need to bridge that. I try on Twitter, especially in the earlier days, and I even do it in French because I understand. I thought that they understood English, but they don't, and so I take my time and I do it in French so that they can be educated on. Many people don't even know there was a Northern Cameroons. That's not North Cameroon, so they don't know. I was arguing with a 7-year-old man about Boya being the capital of Cameroon. I mean, it's unbelievable the lack of political education that they have. And so I don't want to blame them. I don't want to blame them because we need to find a way for that political education, the history of Southern Cameroons, and also to educate our people on the history and the hundreds of thousands of people that lost their lives fighting for independence. And then in the end, those who fought for independence aren't the ones who were put in power. And so there's all of this history that needs to be unwound and explained. And so, yes, things have happened in the past,
All right.
but we always have an opportunity, I think, to fix that. And I think it starts with dialogue. And so I really think that dialogue is the most important thing. Open, real dialogue, not dialogue to sign an agreement, but dialogue so that brothers and sisters, which we all are, we are brothers and sisters. We sit down and talk.
That is you.
We are all brothers and
that is
sisters.
you. All right.
Even our Nigerian cousins are
I
brothers
think
and
Nigerians
sisters.
are
So we are
brothers
all
and
brothers and
sisters,
sisters.
not LROC
We are
citizens.
all brothers and sisters.
All right, let's
I'm
take to this other
an
question, please.
Africanist.
Let's
So
get to this other caller.
yeah.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, good evening, Comrade Chris.
Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from, please?
I am calling from Nigeria.
Okay, what is on your mind?
Yes, I wish to ask our sister Rebecca Enongchang, is she aware that the French system is a very brutal system and it's always very difficult to interact with them? Think of Senegal and Gambia. They did everything to live like brothers. They couldn't go. So what does she think that does she still have it in mind that if we happen to live like that, we live with these people, they will continue brutalizing us? So is she thinking that after the election something can change from maybe the leader, the new leader? And how confident is she that that elections can be free and fair?
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
We know. All right.
Thank you. 50 seconds. We've got a lot of calls, so you can take as many before you leave, please.
So, okay, very quickly, first I'll start with the end. Elections will not be free and fair, but we're trying to get critical mass so that the unfairness and the fraud, the electoral fraud will be minimal, like compared to the overwhelming number of people. I have no idea what a new leader will bring other than the ability to release our prisoners and start open dialogue with our people. And as I said earlier, I don't know what our people want. And I don't want to be in a position where I'm speaking for people. I don't live in Ground Zero. I live in Douala. So I want our people to have an opportunity to speak for themselves. I'm not their spokesperson. And I don't want to say what they want and what we will be able to achieve. But I think that it's really important to talk. And I think that this is an opportunity to start repairing and fixing.
All right. All right. Let's get to the next caller here. Hello.
Hello, Comrade Chris.
Yes, sir. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from France. Good evening.
From France. Okay.
Yeah, this is Comrade Eno. I would like to speak to Ma Rebecca.
You are live, sir. Go on.
Language.
What? 50 seconds.
Yeah, that's in Pidgin English.
All right.
Yeah, Ma Rebecca, I'll be very happy to say you take the courage you can stand to see Comrade Chris on that talk. Comrade Chris being one of the best way be open. it receive any person we get idea for say for humanity make it peace. Person like Ma Rebecca, you be for humanity, for peace. But the truth is not that. The truth may be that way you talk. You just want peace. But we, the peace we did now, we turn and none of Ambazonian fighters or Ambazonian leaders. Maybe we declare war for ourselves. Now some person can't stand declare war for ourselves. Why they say when they can't talk for talk now say now we the cause the problem. The person who caused that problem never come back and talk say we'll be sorry. I don't do this. Issa Tchiroma, he go hug his own because he knows he be a politician. Which post he first get of La Republic, a communication minister, and a communication minister a person for propaganda, and a politician where you know everything, have manipulate the people, their ideas, for come down, for hear the talk. After he go for Bamenda, he talk to people and say,
make your point, make your point, make your point.
Okay, my point is that Tchiroma is a politician. Tchiroma is a politician. Ma Rebecca, you talk now about peace. Why you never talk say, okay, we Ambazonian, we call a referendum because we if we talk say, would they threaten people there, would they do this for people there? Maybe we'll bring a referendum. It's not the election will happen for the for La Republic, maybe for we. So if people they talk say now we do hold the election, it's not like that.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let me just reframe the question a little bit. I think he makes a legitimate point there. You are talking about peace. You know that this war was declared on us. We did not ask for war. November 17, I remember, Biya returning from Cote d'Ivoire, AU meeting, right there at the airport in Yaoundé, he declared war on the southern Cameroons. Now, it will take that same regime an announcement, just an announcement to say, we are ready to sit down and negotiate like the brothers that you say they are, right? Don't you think that some of you ought to be putting, I know you are doing your best out there by talking about peace, but don't you think that some of you can put more pressure on that government to say you call the war, you are able to stop it? Because having gone for 9 years, there is no way we're going to turn and look back after with so many people have been killed. I have lost family, my mother, my father, my home, everything you can imagine. How do you think at this moment we can just think about peace as if nothing happened in the past 9 years?
No, I think, there is a saying, I think it's there's no justice, no peace, right? So in order to achieve that peace is the end. But the process to get there is long and it's difficult. And I think that but it starts with dialogue. We don't get to the end without some justice. And that justice is what we all want. And that justice is what will lead to the peace. So, but how do we get that justice, right? How do we get that justice? We'll never get it out of this current regime. We will never get it out of them. And so
Okay.
we can wait and say, okay, well, we're going to put pressure on the Biya regime. If they win the elections again, we'll just put pressure on them. They won't relent, because I think, to be honest with you, I think that some of them are actually benefiting from the war, right? And
On
so
their side, of
because
course,
they're
yes.
yeah, I think they're personally benefiting from some of the contracts for
You're
weapons or
correct.
whatever.
You're correct. People like
And
Fort
and
Hassan
and I
and the
and I
rest.
and I, and I, they're so they're very self-interested. And they will fight. I mean, I know of so many examples where there was the beginning of dialogue, where all of a sudden something happened to make to inflame the situation, so that public sentiment would be against peace and dialogue. And so, I'm pretty sure that this current regime, in its and we've seen it as soon as Tchiroma went to Bamenda, started talking about dialogue, started talking about, oh, he knows Chris Anu, and so on and so forth. the regime, like that was for them, that is, and you can see them using that
Yeah.
against him. And I think it's a reflection of this is what we have. Is it where somebody goes to Bamenda, which is still in Cameroon, by the way, for the time being,
That is
for their Cameroon,
that is
right?
in Amazonia.
And yeah, but and says, I talked to my brother, and the regime sees it as terrorists, as terrorism, as supporting terrorism. You
Yeah.
can just imagine that mindset. We can't work with those folks. We can't convince them. And I think it's really important. Let's, if we have a fresh set of eyes, we still will need to convince, because we still need to educate them on what happened, and as I said, the political history, so that we're having the dialogue on the same level of understanding, which is missing right now. And so I think we need a fresh set of people that we can start to educate about. These are the real issues, and it's not about the language. It's not because you didn't translate something. It's the issues are much deeper than that and much more important than that. They're not these superficial translation issues, but they need to be educated. And I can no longer educate the people that are there. We don't have anybody that we can talk to. I've tried. Believe
I
me,
get your
I've tried
point.
every opportunity.
I get your point.
I get. And so give us an opportunity to have a new set of eyes that we can try to convince. And I'm
All
not
right.
saying that right out of the, at least we'll have freedom for the political prisoners, and then a beginning of the dialogue. And yeah, that's what I'm supporting.
Let's take the last question before so many calls coming in. Unfortunately, for time constraints, we can't take all. But let's go to the last one. Hello.
Yes, hello.
Hello, sir. Where are you calling from, please?
I'm calling from Texas.
Okay, and what is on your mind, sir?
Yeah, I have a few issues that I really want to address. The last speaker kind of got something out of me, but yeah, this is a war that was declared on us, and as you know, and first of all, I want to thank my sister, Miss Ellen Chong, for being here. This is a war that was declared on us, and the government of La République, the regime in Yaoundé, has not even taken time to discuss this in their parliament. And so that is something, and you know, I remember growing up in Cameroon, when we tried to talk about anything violent, oh no, it's about the argument of what? The argument of, it's not the argument of force, but the argument of
Ideas.
of idea, of something like that, right?
Yeah.
So it was always about peace, 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 peace. They have declared war on us. They don't want to talk about it. Tchiroma has come out and said that he's going to release some people, except those with blood in their hands. And this is, we are in a war. In a war, when you kill somebody, there is no blood in your hands. There is nothing like blood in your hands, because what blood? We are fighting a war. And so, and another thing is, this election, Bia can just get up tomorrow, regardless of what the result is, and just declare victory. We've seen that in the past, and nothing was done.
Yeah.
So, I Miss Ellen Chong, I like your energy, I like your enthusiasm. Please, could you address some of these things that I just mentioned?
All right. Thank you for the call. Rebecca, go on, please.
Okay, so you said something. You said we are fighting the war, but you're in Houston. There are people that are living in those zones. And there was a hashtag a few years ago that's not as active today, that was created by the people that are in Ground Zero. And it's called My Anglophone Crisis Story. I urge you to go and look at those stories of people that are living in that zone and what they are enduring day in and day out. And I say, you know, I don't know how long ago you left Cameroon, but Cameroon has
It's
changed a
been
lot, and our
almost 30
children.
years.
And our children have changed a lot. I spend a lot of time in Boya because that's where we have one of our tech hubs. So
Yeah.
we opened a tech hub in Boya called Active Spaces, the African Center for Technology, Innovation, and Ventures, and we started in Boya in 2010. And it was in 20, I think it was 2016 when two of our guys were arrested
Oh.
for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. They were tried for preparing an illegal meeting or something like that. So, I mean, this was a very, very, very beginning. And those young people, you would be surprised, feel very Cameroonian. Because what we haven't realized is that over the years, and they hate the situation, don't get me wrong, they hate the situation and they want this to change. But what has happened is that we grew up with our political history. We grew up knowing the history of Southern Cameroons. These kids, they have no idea what the history is. They hear these grown-ups talking about something that's very abstract to them. All they know is that they can go to school and get shot on their way to school. And I think that those of us that have the opportunity to live outside of ground zero, the number of refugees that are in Douala and Yaoundé and
Yeah.
Bafoussam
Yeah.
and that are suffering and suffering. And I'm not blaming that there's one responsible party, and that's the Cameroon government. But we have to be able to say, if we want our kids to survive, we need to give them an opportunity to do so. It's very easy to be sitting in Houston and saying, oh, we're going to continue the war until somebody shows up in La République that's going to agree to our terms. It's not going to happen. And so we need to push that forward, and give the people in ground zero, those people that are living and enduring this war, an opportunity to express themselves.
But we
Nobody
are
talks
doing
to them.
so. The
Nobody
people
asks
on
them.
ground zero are telling us. I wish you were receiving the messages that I do. Even as you listen to the phone calls and the questions being posed to you, you can tell ground zero is resolved. Yes, there is suffering, there is pain, but they say to us, we cannot turn back, because if we turn back, it will be worse than what we've seen in the last 64 years. But let me ask you a
But
question
why
related to
why
that.
do you
Let me
consider,
ask you a
so you
question
don't,
related. You can add that to this. You have these elites on ground zero, the Infortabe Tandos, the chiefs, the so-called elite from the southern Cameroon. I'm not talking about francophone elite. Don't you think that some of these messages should be directed to them,
but
not
they
to the
don't live
people
in
who
ground
are
zero.
fighting hard to
They don't
regain
live
their
there.
freedom?
They don't, you're talking about people that live in Yaoundé.
Yeah,
They don't live there.
not that
They don't
they
have
live in
any,
Yaoundé
and
because
that's
they
why I'm
escaped to
saying,
Yaoundé.
but to be honest, are you counting on them after all these years? Do you think they're going to change?
No,
They
I'm saying
obviously,
that
you have
people
some
like
people that,
you who are in a position to pressure them and say you cannot have
I'm
your
not in a
people
position to pressure
suffering.
this government. This is the same government you remember that arrested me a few years ago. I'm
Okay,
not in a
well, I
position to
know that,
pressure them.
yes.
That's why I want them kicked out. I want this government to go. I need it to go. And I just think that sometimes when we're not in an environment, and I encourage you, it's on Twitter, it's called End My Anglophone Crisis Story. Listen to these kids, they're children. They're the ones that are expressing themselves. All we can do is, they're talking about their daily lives and the things that are happening to them and what they're enduring. And I think it's really, really important that we hear them. We hear them
And
because
we
the
hear them.
youth.
We hear them. I have made trips to Nigeria to refugee camps. to listen to them. And I think if anybody should be in pain at the moment, I don't know if it is not the refugees, I don't know who else it should be. They are not sure of 2 meals a day. They're not sure of shelter. They're not sure of clothing. When I went there, we took food there and I saw these people, I wept. I literally wept in front of them, looking at the tattered manner in which they look. And yet you have a regime that says, my citizens, none of the politicians in La Republic of Cameroon has visited our refugees for the past 9 years of war. None of them. And yet they cry foul that people are protesting, they are suffering. We have seen this. We support them. We raise funds, support the IDP, support the refugee. It's not like we don't understand this thing. We do, but the good thing is the people themselves are resolved. Let's not cut and run.
I mean, one thing I will completely agree with you on is the resolve, right? I think that one of the mistakes that this regime made was to believe that it was a movement of leaders, right? So you can change all the leaders and the problem remains because it's not a leader thing. It's really a movement that came from the people. All I'm saying is that sometimes I think we have the best intentions, and we want to help. And I'll give you one example. I was vice president of Manual Elements in the US. And we organized, we would do things every year. We would send containers full of things to help our people. And we raised lots of money and did lots of great work. And then I think it was 1990, we decided that we would have the Manu World Conference. We would all meet up in Manfit, right? All the Meccas in the world, we would meet up in Manfit with the Mecca Cameroon. Do you know that I felt incredibly stupid because a lot of what we thought they needed, and we would travel to Cameroon frequently, what we thought they needed was completely not what they needed. So it was good intentions, but the result was that what they wanted was, for instance, it was just some of them had just been appointed mayor, and they didn't know what they were supposed to do. They wanted training. They wanted to explain how the tax regime made it so that they couldn't store goods because they would have to pay tax on stored goods, and then they couldn't move them during the rainy season. They couldn't move them. And so, all sorts of issues, but none of them we had thought of or understood. And so it was like a reawakening for me. When I moved back to Cameroon in 2004, I opened my subsidiary here, an office here in 2002. And I thought I really understood a lot of things. I would travel back to Cameroon multiple times a year. My father lives here. At that time. And I felt like I understood the country. And there was I had students from Columbia University, MBA students in New York, that followed me for 6 months in Cameroon. They traveled, followed my story, and wrote their thesis on my returning and opening the subsidiary in Cameroon. And if you read the thing, it's published, it's still online. It's like Rebecca Nonchong and Abstek from the US to Cameroon, something like that. It's still online. If you read it, I sound so intelligent. I sound like I know what I'm talking about. Let me tell you, I knew nothing. Like, Cameroon will school you. Like, absolutely nothing. It's only when you come here and you live here and you live daily and have the daily issues that you start to get a semblance of understanding of what this country is about. I remember also one time we had a conference in Boya called the Silicon Mountain Conference, and you had called for Ghost Town just a few days before, and and I was actually worried about going forward with the conference, but we had the conference. And you would be really surprised. When somebody, I think somebody got up and said, "Oh, time for the national anthem." I was scared. I just held my hand like this. I'm like, these people are crazy.
Which
Do you
anthem
know
were
they
they
were
trying to
almost
sing? A foreign anthem.
and that one. And I was like, oh no, 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 no. I was messaging one of my team members, and I was like, no, no, no. Why? It's a tech conference. What are we doing? Do you know that there were about 800 people? They all stood up, these young children, and they sang the national anthem. And they sang it with pride. And I said,
Which anthem did they
wow,
sing?
that was
The Cameroon anthem?
that one.
They were
I'm telling
they were
you.
fortunate nobody caught them.
Yeah. Well, yes, that too. What I'm saying is that these kids grew up as Cameroonians, not as Southern Cameroonians, and we need to acknowledge that. And that education that I'm talking about, that we need to do to francophones, we also need to do it to our own children. They have no idea. They have no idea what all this political stuff is about. And I think we have a responsibility to them, and to listen to them. And I don't think we do enough of that. You know, you did a trip for the refugees. That's amazing. That's important. But it doesn't mean that you get it. And I
think,
want us to
Rebecca,
all be.
listen, I
No,
think-
no, no,
I-
no, 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 Chris.
I
This
think
is rude.
no,
I
listen,
must
I think you have to understand.
I will say.
You have
I
to
do.
understand.
You think you do,
You have
and
to
I don't.
understand.
That's why I said when you said when the person asked what I felt about what's happening in Ground Zero, and I said I live in Douala. I'm right next. I go to Boya frequently. I go to. I will not. I'm humble enough, even though I'm not. I don't sound very humble right now, but I'm humble enough to know that I want those people that are on the ground, that are living there currently, to make the decisions they need to make for themselves.
But do you think somebody is out making decisions for them?
I think that sometimes you think you know better what they want.
No, not really.
No, I'm not saying
really.
you, Chris. I'm not saying you, Chris. I'm saying the movement. I'm saying it's not personal. I just want us to be more to recognize the importance of talking to these young people. I just finished my company. We take interns every year. We just had about 20 interns that finished on Friday. This past Friday, there are 3 months of internship on software engineering. All but 2 were Anglophone, right? They're English speaking from Southern Cameroon. And they'd come and traveled from mostly from Boya, but also from other parts.
What accounts for that? The very minimal number of Southern Cameroonians being part of being in the internship.
Oh, I mean, there were all but 2.
Yeah.
So out of
what
20,
accounts for that?
there were only 2 that were not from Southern Cameroon.
Oh, okay.
What
I
accounts
get
for
the
it?
point. All right.
My internship program.
I get the point. Yeah.
And so I can, yeah. So yes, I do favor people that come from Southern Cameroons to come do the internship. So that I do that. But what I'm saying is that these kids, I talk to them, they don't understand the history, and I think it's a blessing for me to be around them. But I also acknowledge that I don't know what they go through on a daily basis. I even though I'm close to them, even though I talk to them, I don't know. And I'm happy that they share with me, but I will never, I'm not in their shoes. I'm not in their shoes. And I want them to have a vehicle, an opportunity to express themselves fully and freely. And so I'm not sure that we do enough of that. And I'm not saying you only, I'm saying we as a community. We don't talk to our kids. We don't talk to the young people enough. We think we know better than they do. And so we think that we know what's best for them. And so we're not giving them an opportunity to talk and express
that is the
themselves.
country that they live in. Right from birth, from going to school, they're never taught the right history. And so they grow up completely ignorant of of their history. And when you have a regime that is afraid of being toppled, they hide stuff, and that is what that country has done for the past over 60 years.
We agree on that. We agree on that.
Yeah, I am so glad. I am so glad you found time to be my guest on the show. I will really look forward to having maybe another conversation with you after Sunday, actually, after the elections
Yes.
on the
I
Sunday.
would be happy to.
And I really wish we
Yes.
could ask Ambazonians to go out and vote, but we are really hoping that we want to see.
I'm hoping that I'm hoping that you'll give it.
We're not going to
It's
get
just
born
a few
again
days.
that soon, so let's wait until after the elections. We will see what happens.
It's just a few days. It's just a few days, Chris. It's
All
just
right,
a few days.
thank you,
All
thank
right.
you for
Thank you. Thank you
for
so
coming
much
on
for
the show.
having me. Have a good night.
Thank
Bye.
you, thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right.
ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricatv@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricatv@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricatv@gmail.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was it with my guest tonight, Rebecca Enonchon, joining me from Douala in La République du Cameroon. The phone lines are once more open, and I will spend 10 more minutes and I call it a night. So you can go ahead and call, but remember Rebecca is gone. But if you want to make a contribution, having watched and listened to her, go ahead, call that number. And before you call, make sure you shut down the volume of your television set. Shut down the volume of your TV set before you call. Again, the phone line is there on your screen. All right. I see so many people tried calling, but unfortunately, we couldn't take all of the calls. But you have an opportunity now to go ahead and call, please. All right. Go ahead and call. Let me read this message from one of the viewers who says, Madam Rebecca should put on the Ambazonian shoes and think of the villages destroyed. Men, women, and children killed by the regime with no remorse. Our people locked up in their dungeons, IDPs and refugees in neighboring countries, etc. The Amazonians are waiting for the regime to organize a referendum for the people to choose their destiny. Any other thing than this is uncalled for in Amazonia. Okay, that is somebody writing from ground zero. From ground zero. All right. Go ahead, please, and call. Go ahead and call. The phone number is there on your screen. The phone number is there on your screen. Go ahead and call. While I wait for your phone calls, ladies and gentlemen, I like to make this very special appeal to you. ABS survives on satellite on generous contributions from people like you who are tuned in, watching and listening to me today. I want to appeal to you. We never want to be shut out of the satellite. We are making an appeal for 100 people who love what we do here at ABS. No matter where you are, if you can access PayPal, Zelle, or Cash App, to please register, send us a message on the number you have on your screen to be included in the 100 ABS 100 Club who agree to give ABS $25 every month for 1 year to get ABS to stay on satellite. Please, if you are one of those, I strongly appeal to you, send me a message on the number on your screen. Let me get to the phone line now. Hello.
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 Hello, Secretary Chris.
Good evening, sir. May I know where you are calling from, please?
Yes, I'm calling from Ground Zero in La Republique.
All right. What is on your mind, sir?
I think that what Sister Rebecca was discussing, we who are on the ground here, we think that could be a leeway out. We think that could be an opportunity because
you mean you on the ground or we on the ground?
Well, if I say
if you want to say that is your opinion, I get it. But if you want to join everybody to say that is what all of you agree, I think I disagree with you.
Not everybody.
Okay.
I just say it might be a few of us.
All right,
we
good.
have discussed something like that. I would say, okay, my opinion is that probably we could have looked into this situation in such a way that we look at the trend of events, the trend of how these campaigns are going, and then we try to encourage to say, okay, we get somebody other than the person who is usually there. Let the people get somebody new who can come in with something new that even just to relieve the pains of the people.
Listen, I hear you, I hear you, and I hear this argument from many people, but the fact is there is no guarantee. No guarantee. We are dealing with politicians who have a pedigree for lying to the people and doing something else. I think if they are if we sit by the way, if we sit outside and say, go ahead, conduct your elections. If you are serious, come and meet us, let's talk. That is the best way to do it. We don't want to capitulate to them before even the election. We are not even sure they are going to win. Thank you for the call.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Hello. All right, the phone line is open. Go ahead and call. The phone line is open. Please. Go ahead and call. The phone line is open. So, ladies and gentlemen, this argument that we should just give it a chance because it's an opportunity. Have we forgotten who these people are? How can we just so soon forget that these are people you can't trust what they say? If they are serious in resolving the conflict, let them win the election and come and call us and let's talk. All right, let me get to this caller here. Hello.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Abakwa.
Okay, and what is on your mind, sir? 1 minute.
Please, sir, there are some remarks that I wish to make to Madam Rebecca. I wish to tell her that we on Ground Zero are resolved to remain as long as this war is going to go on. So we are not going back to La Republic again because we have suffered enough. I hope she has seen what happened on the 1st of October, how our boys are very prepared to proceed the war for as long as it's going to go on.
All right.
Then I'm asking her concerning the election. When she says that the election this year will be different from what is used to take place, what are the mechanisms that the opposition, as she's saying, are going to guarantee their vote after the voting to maintain that their vote count? What are the mechanisms that are put in place? Because the regime in place is a dictatorial regime. They know how to manipulate the election. What are they going to do after the election so that their election counts?
You make a very valid point there. Can you imagine us saying Ambazonians should go and vote and then we open the territory and then their candidate loses the elections? It would be that we have surrendered already, isn't it?
No, we can never.
It would be we have joined them back because we participated in the elections. I don't know why some Ambazonians can't see this. We must remain principled, demanding what we demanded from day number one. Whoever wins their election can invite us to sit down and talk. There is nothing wrong with that.
We don't care who wins in that country. We are tell her that we are gone. We are not going back to La Republic again because we have suffered enough.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yeah. Good evening, Comrade Chris.
Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from?
From Ground Zero.
Okay, and what is on your mind?
First of all, I want to share my condolence with you, the loss of your mother.
Thank you.
And secondly, I want you to remind our people that they should understand that the Israelites did not have their country without sacrificing lives, properties, and all the other things. The kingdom of heaven suffered violence, and the violent take it by force. God took Lucifer out of heaven by force, and God had to come on earth and teach man and train man how God has the power to eliminate the devil. But he wanted man to grab what God has given him by his own thought and effort. So, Southern Cameroonians should not go about compromising, begging, wanting to test. Fundi had done that. Abemukom. There are countless Southern Cameroonians who have fought for this country. Why is it that we want to speak for others to work and give us? People sleep and they have their golden spoon in their hand. They come to make propositions because they have linked and made their life through the corrupt system of the Republic. So they are wanting to invite their talk on behalf of starting command. I tell you, those who are saying those things, let them turn them down to the level of those who are suffering, the poor and suffering people. We have most of our people we have sent abroad. That's the only means we are feeding. And we can't have important position in this country with our own rights. Our community councillors come from the Republic to come and occupy our own territory where we can sweep the road, have 10 francs. So they should understand that we cannot be talking like the Israelites who went to the desert and started blaming Moses, saying it was better we go back to Egypt to eat onion and fish.
Right.
We are not going to take that. Yes.
All right.
Compromise, God will strike them. Yes. So, sir, thank you.
Thank you for the call.
Encouragement for what? Yes. Stay blessed.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think with that I will call it a night. But before I go once more, I really make a strong appeal to you. If you like what we're doing here at ABS, please join ABS 100 Club with a promise of only $25 a month to support ABS. And if you want to join that club, the number is there on your screen. Send me a text message on it so you can be included in that forum. Let me do this justice before I go. Hello. 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 All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in tonight. I am so glad you were tuned in. I hope you have been educated and illuminated tonight. You have a great rest of your night, and I'll be back tomorrow right here on the same channel. Keep it on.
ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricatv@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity.